Welcome everybody to Tuesday Night Live. We just did 205, now it's time to do SmackDown Live. I'm Mike Hiru and this is Beyond the Shoot. So just like Raw, we open up with the women. I feel like they're doing this because the Evolution pay-per-view is coming up and they need to push the women as much as they can, as hard as they can, build up storylines and make the WWE Universe interested in the women because it's going to be an all-women's pay-per-view and this needs to happen. So SmackDown does open up with Becky Lynch, Charlotte, they're talking in the ring, Carmella comes out. I feel like Carmella has been doing her best mic work in the past 3 weeks. I feel like she needs to stick with this more serious, more heel kind of tone rather than the annoying, screaming type of, character she was putting out. James Ellsworth helped her with that, kept her with that. Let's leave that alone and let's move to this. They're going back and forth, bickering, and Paige comes out and she does say, you know what, you guys want to fight, you guys want to bicker with each other, I'm going to give Becky Lynch and Charlotte a tag match. So at least this is the first match of the night. First match of the night is formerly known as Absolution, Mandy Rose and SAnitY Deville versus Becky Lynch and Charlotte. Overall, I'm going to give the match a C+. It wasn't a great match. I feel like SAnitY Deville and Maddie Rose did the best they can. They're rookies still. They're still new at this. They have time to catch up. But the veterans kind of held back a little bit. It felt like they were more concentrated in their SummerSlam match rather than this match, and it showed. In my opinion, in Tony's opinion, Maddie Rose is going to be a superstar. She has the looks. She has the movesets. Her V-trigger is probably the best V-trigger in far as WWE-wise, in the women's and the men's. Every time she hits it, it snaps to perfection. But overall, I'm going to give this a C+. Becky does get the victory with the pin and the tap out. It was kind of it was a weird like tap out pin thing because it made no sense. It felt like it was like a little botch. But Carmella's on the side, they're just talking smack to each other. I feel like it was rushed. Like I said, I am going to give it a C+, and it's kind of dragging into the opening of SmackDown. I'm going to just combine it all together. I am going to give it a C+. So let's move on from that, and we're going to move on to a squash match. An unfortunate squash match because it's the Bludgeon Brothers versus some team called the Triple Threat. It wasn't even a match. I don't even think the bell rung. They just squashed them and walked out. I feel like this doesn't need to happen anymore. They're the champions. They need to defend the championship. They need to have great opponents because at some point, we don't know what else they can be done. We don't know who can match up with them. They need to show a little more of vulnerability. I'm going to say vulnerability because they need to have competitors all around and not just the New Day and not just, the Usos. We got to have, SAnitY come up and all these other people come up. But like I said, overall, I'm going to give this squash match a D. I didn't like it. I don't like the fact it's 2 weeks in a row they gave them nobodies, literally nobodies as far as triple threat factions. So you know what, let's just move on from that. That gets a D. We come with the segment that's been going on through the entire show. I don't know where to put it because I'm going to put it right here. It started off with part 1, part 2, part 3. Daniel Bryan and The Miz. I'm going to give it overall an A+. It's perfect storytelling. It's 8 years worth of storytelling. They go back to the former Tough Enough NXT competitive days to, their first Raw, their first SmackDown, the SmackDown talk. It's just from when they were young to where they are now. It just told stories, them interviewing each other, them getting interviewed backstage, and it was great. I'm going to give it an A+, and I feel like that's going to be the match of the night. So we come back, and we finally have another match, because this little part 1, part 2, part 3 has been going on for a while. We have the New Day versus SAnitY. Once I saw that, I got excited a little bit because finally SAnity's back on TV, and the matches they did put on, the TLC match they put on was an A+ match, so I was excited to see what they brought to this. Overall, I'm going to give this a B+. It wasn't to the caliber of what they had at TLC. It wasn't the caliber that they've been building up as far as chemistry-wise, but it was a great match. Kofi Kingston's birthday was today, so happy birthday. He did the best that he can, with his enthusiasm, with his happiness. Killian Dane was a superstar in NXT. And for him to come out in some type of onesie and get the pin, like he took the pin, it kind of lowers down SAnity's level of what they can bring. I get New Day needed to go over. They're facing the Bludgeon Brothers at SummerSlam. They need to come out with the victory. They couldn't take the loss. But at the expense of New Day, at the expense of SAnitY, it doesn't feel right. I feel like SAnitY needs to do something very, very drastic, maybe at SummerSlam, but they need to do something very, very drastic to kind of elevate them back up to what they're supposed to be. SAnitY, Psycho, Chaos. They need to show this sometime, maybe next week, like I said, maybe SummerSlam. But like I said, I'm going to give that a B+. So we're moving on. It's the return of people coming on TV. It's Shelton Benjamin and Jeff Hardy. They fought a long time ago when Jeff Hardy got traded to SmackDown. It was his first match versus Shelton Benjamin. Two former US champions. Jeff Hardy has been a little off because he's been wrestling injured for the past 2-3 months maybe. Each week, me, Tony, and Psycho Steve say he needs a break. He needs a break, and he shows it in every match. He's like maybe a second off, and he's still doing the best that he can. Just like his brother, who's injured as well. They're doing the best they can. They're veterans. They know how to move without actually showing that they're injured. This match was decent. I'm going to give the match overall a C+, but don't put the grade just yet. I'm going to give overall a B+. Because the fact when Jeff Hardy did get the victory because he needed it, he's facing Shinsuke at SummerSlam. But what happened afterwards? Shinsuke music hits. Shelton Benjamin scares Jeff Hardy from the back, so he turns around. Shinsuke does this kind of like code breaker, Kinshasa type move to Jeff Hardy and just lays him out. That was perfect. That was exciting. And not just that, but the fact that they cut the camera to the corner of the arena and Randy Orton is kind of just like a snake, like the Viper, just kind of sneaking around looking at him. So overall, besides the match, but the segment, I am going to give a B+. So, we go to a commercial, we come back, and it's it was a weird little segment, a weird little match. It was Aiden English versus Andrade SAnitY. Aiden English is trying to make up for all the stuff that he's been doing with Rusev and Lana Day. He's trying to be like, you know what? I'm going to get redemption. I apologize. Let me face SAnitY. Let me show what I can do. The match overall, I'm going to give a C. It wasn't a great match. I love SAnitY. He's probably becoming my favorite wrestler in SmackDown and Raw because he's phenomenal. NXT was phenomenal, and he's showing that he's phenomenal now. This match, like I said, I'm going to give a C. Aiden English did lose, which did need to happen because it was kind of, let's call it a squash match, because I don't think Aiden English got any offense whatsoever. It was more or less what happened afterwards. Just like every single match, every single promo's gone on, is what happening afterwards is setting up SummerSlam. SAnitY and Zelina Vega are talking about Rusev Day and Lana Day and all this stuff, and their music hits, they come out. They're kind of going back and forth, but with nothing but catchphrases. It was like the C, it was like Rusev Day, it was Lana's #1. It was just all these things going back and forth. It was a quick little segment to kind of build up their kickoff match at SummerSlam. So overall, I am going to stick with the C because I'm not too excited, but I'm just excited to see SAnitY wrestle, and especially versus Rusev. So we come back from that and we go to the main event of the night. This is where it gets kind of tricky because AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, great wrestlers, phenomenal wrestlers. I feel like this is going to be probably the second to best match of the night behind Daniel Bryan and The Miz. But the ending to this wasn't great. Samoa Joe in a suit should never happen again. It doesn't fit with him. Have him come out with no shirt, just mean looking. But the fact that he's bringing his family into it, making it personal, it needs to happen for the fact that, one, they've been friends for a very, very long time. They have the history of TNA. They have the history of Ring of Honor. They have the history of the Indies. And not only to mention that this feud only happened 2-3 weeks ago on SmackDown. It had no time to build up a storyline, so they had to get personal really quick. He's bringing his wife into it. He's bringing his daughter into it. But that's all that happened. Samoa Joe just ended with a letter from his daughter and walked off. It wasn't no, I'm going to attack you. It wasn't no, let me tease attacking you. Nothing like that. SmackDown just ended that way. So I have to give it a C+. You guys may disagree with me. I hope you disagree with me, but I'm going to give it a C+. I just didn't like it. I'm still excited for the match. I just didn't like the way it ended. So overall, I have to give SmackDown a lower grade than Raw. It's never happened. I've never chosen Raw over SmackDown, but there's a first time for everything. It's happening this week. SmackDown's going to get a C+. I haven't given SmackDown a C+ since we started this channel. It never happened. So hopefully SummerSlam kind of changes my mind a little bit, but I'm excited for next week because I want to see what happens after SummerSlam, especially because it's SmackDown. But those are my grades. Those are my opinions. Once again, click on that above. Give me your grades. Comment, like, subscribe down below. Comment if you disagree with me. Comment if you disagree with the grade I gave at the end. It's your choice to do that. But also, follow me on Twitter, Mike Hiru BTS. And we'll see you guys for the prediction show and for NXT TakeOver, which will take over all of the pay-per-views.